Hi everyone, and welcome to this exclusive masterclass session. And I'm so excited to introduce you to our guest today, Pam Wright. Pam is a stress specialist based out in Australia, and Pam shows people struggling with stress, doubts, insecurity, and self-sabotage how to believe in themselves, regain the confidence, and step into their personal power. Pam takes people on a journey home to themselves and help them achieve their greatest potential. And during this pandemic, obviously, Pam offers remotely sessions over Skype. And I don't know, do you still do face-to-face sessions in Australia?
No, not at the moment. All online. Yeah,
Yes.
all online. But I've been all online for quite a few years now because it's a global business, so
Right.
most of it's online.
Yeah, so first of all, Pam, thank you so much for being here. I'm so happy to have you.
Oh, look, I'm excited. I'm very excited for people to be getting this information to them. I think it's a brilliant idea. I really do. It'll help so many people.
Yes, yes. So it's a relationship and anxiety summit. So today we'll talk a lot about relationship issues, fear of abandonment, self-love, all of these things. And so recently you published your book, Why Am I So Screwed Up, and How I Freed Myself from a Self-Imposed Prison. And I just wanted to start recording this interview because I was telling Pam how I'm excited with this book and how great this book is. And it's not just so much incredible value within the book itself, but what Pam has created, she has recorded basically like a video course for each chapter in this book. And whatever, sometimes there's in some of the chapters there's more theory, so there's videos in the video course that takes you through the practice, the actual practice, and it's just incredible. So Pam, I just want to acknowledge how great your book is.
Look, thank you so much. And I'm excited to hear that people really are getting that from it, because it was really important to me that when I wrote it, that it wasn't just more information. You know, we keep hearing information is power, but implementation of information is power. And that's what I wanted the book to be. Not just the information, but telling people how to implement it themselves. So thank you. I'm excited. The reaction's been brilliant, so very excited.
Yes, yes. And to everyone's listening, I will post the link to this book like underneath this video, so don't worry about it. Like, you will have the access to the page on the Amazon. So Pam, I really wanted to start with you're helping people to overcome all sorts of issues. How often people come to you with relationship issues?
Well, I guess there's a few that come with relationship issues, but what's interesting is no matter what they come with, very often it breaks down and it's a relationship issue deep down. So they might come to me for physical pain, let's say, or they might come to me because they have an illness. But when we get in there, there's a relationship, and it could be the relationship with themselves. It could be the intimate relationship they're in, or it could be a previous relationship they've had with a parent or that is impacting and actually part of the problem. So I'm always dealing with relationships when people come to see me. 100%, I would say. There's some sort of relationship in there that we need to look at and work with.
Right. And so when we talk about fear of abandonment in relationships and relationship anxiety, overthinking what their partner says or does, it often related to some trauma. It often related to the childhood, to their childhood, what happened when they were little kids. So what I loved, what you're saying in your book, that basically everyone would think that I wish I had an ideal childhood, a happy childhood, but the reality is no one has a perfect family. And so if people realize, okay, I'm having issues and I know for sure it's related because my dad didn't love me, my mom used to beat me, and I want to overcome that, but where do I start? So what would be your advice on, like, if people understand that their issue is like heavily related to their childhood, where do they start fixing it?
So that's right there is the start. When we can understand, really understand, because for many people, our childhood, what we go through, it's normal, it's natural, because it's all we know. So we don't even know that it's not how it's supposed to be, or not how it could have been, actually. There's not supposed to be how it could have been. So in the understanding that all of our behaviours at the moment, not all of them, but a majority of our behaviours and how we're behaving now comes from our childhood. If we can just acknowledge that and be aware of that, that is the starting point. So it's that awareness that I had the subconscious once described, and I love this because it's the subconscious that holds all the data from our childhood and from our experiences. And it was described as an elephant. So the subconscious is the elephant, and here we are, a flea on the elephant's back, and we're trying to direct it. And of course we can't. So if we understand that our past is impacting every behavior or every emotion that we have, that awareness is the starting point. And then from that awareness, that is where we can start to break down. And we all know that we have triggers. People push our buttons. You know, everyone knows that people push our buttons. So, and we always want the other people to stop pushing our buttons. It's like, stop doing that. But when we realize that we're the ones in control of them buttons, we have access to be able to eliminate them buttons, and then people can't trigger our buttons because there is none. So that's the second step. First step is the awareness, and then the second step is realizing that if people are pushing your buttons, there's something that you can do about it. Right.
So you are a Faster EFT practitioner. When you work with people, how big a part of your work is Faster EFT?
At the moment, it's probably 80-90%. I've did a lot of training over the years. I've been a tapping practitioner for over 20 years now. It's actually gone over 20 years. So tapping's definitely a part of it, like a big part of it. But then there's other techniques that I've learnt along the way that I really enjoy. So I just bring them into even the Faster EFT. If I've got a client presenting in front of me that I feel that it would be beneficial to, I just bring that technique in and use it right there and then.
Right. And you see all of that, like, because you have so many tools now, you've been doing it for over 20 years. You have so many tools, so you see it, I assume, like as a like a dance, a creative process.
Yeah. Yes. And quite often, one of the things I describe the most is when we were younger, we used to have them little pictures where you had numbers and you would join the dots, and all of a sudden the picture would become clear. That's what I like in the work I do. I listen to people very carefully. Words are very important, and I listen, and I'm with the client 100%. And then we can join the dots, and all of a sudden, not only do I see the picture, but they see the picture as well. And when we see a clearer picture of why we're behaving in a certain way, and we release the emotion to it, then we don't have to behave in that way in the future.
Right. So fear of abandonment and feel like so low self-worth often related. People are afraid of being abandoned because of like having very low self-worth, and many people affirmations have been out there for decades. People think, well, just do affirmations that work for you. What I've seen on one of your videos on your YouTube channel, that you do it with mirror. Basically, you're tapping yourself with looking into the mirror, basically looking at yourself and tapping and talking about yourself, what you're feeling. And so can you tell us why this process, when basically talking and using those affirmations or incantations, why first you use tapping in the process first, and second, why it's so critical to be looking at yourself while you're doing it?
Okay, so the first thing, when we say an affirmation, so if I say, why am I so beautiful? There's this little tail ender, not there as much anymore though, I might add, but there's normally this little like voice in the head, or, you know, it comes from somewhere like, are you kidding yourself? Have you looked at yourself? You know, it's what we call the tail ender. So it's a voice or a part of us that is rejecting the statement. So if we just say the statement and we've got this part that's rejecting it, we're really reaffirming this part that says, no, you're not, you're ugly, or you're whatever, you know, it's saying something negative. So what happens is, by looking at ourselves in the eyes, we start to really connect with ourselves. And that's so important. Like, over 20 years ago, it was way over 20 years ago, I got told to love myself. It was the Louise Hay's Love Yourself, Heal Your Life. And I thought I did. Like, I didn't get it. It's like, I do love myself. Like, what are you talking about? You know, I do this and I do this, and I'll go for massages, you know, and I said all this stuff. But when we really look at ourselves and we connect with them eyes, we can start to get a feeling of connection, a feeling of knowing who we are. So that's what the eye work is so important about. And saying it out loud is so important as well, because we're in our heads all day and we say some shit to ourselves. Like, honestly, the stuff that goes around in our head, if we spoke it out aloud more often, we would start to go, oh, you know, that's a bit harsh. You know, like, be a bit more gentle or be more compassionate. So that's why looking in the mirror and speaking it out, so you're hearing it from different ears. You're not hearing it from the internal ears, you're hearing it from the external ears. And then the other thing is, the tapping will release the resistance to the statement being true. So if I say I'm so beautiful and there's a resistance to that being true, then the tapping will release that. Mm-hmm. And before long, you do 3 or 4 rounds and you're looking at yourself and you're like, hey, you really are beautiful or kind or compassionate or whatever your affirmation is. Yeah, so that's what it's for. Cool.
Yes. And so you've been on your journey to self-love and just loving yourself and seeing your own worth, which is actually interesting. I've on one of the other interviews in this summit, I spoke with Damon Cart. He's an NLP practitioner, and he said the whole concept of self-worth is actually like, it's nonsense or wrong by itself, because like, even if you think about how can you judge your self-worth, like compared to what?
Yes.
So the whole concept of low self-worth is totally incorrect. There is no self-worth. Like, worth of anything can only be evaluated if you compare it with something. Like, but who can compare? How can you compare yourself and your value with who, with what? So we can talk, so we can talk about self-love. So on your journey with self-love, what was your biggest breakthrough or game changer? What made you start loving yourself?
Oh, I 100% know this one. So basically, as we're growing up, we're taught how to love by the significant people in our life, whether that's our parents or our carers. It's them significant people that teach us how to love. So all the years when I thought I was loving myself, it was true. I was loving myself to the capacity that I knew how to love from what I was taught growing up. When I realized that I had to learn a whole new way of loving to be able to truly love myself, and that meant when I do something wrong, being kind and compassionate and understanding. It meant that when I was trying something new, when I was doing something that I hadn't done before, I was encouraging, and I was my own best coach. It's like, you've got this, you're going to be okay at this. I wasn't used to any of that type of love. And it's no, like, my parents did their absolute best. This is no judgment. But when I realized that, and when I realized when I made mistakes, that I could just laugh at it and, yeah, you'll get it better next time, and rather than judgment and criticism, which I did grow up with a lot of, because I was a little bit rebellious and a little bit out there, so I was always getting into trouble. So I realized that when I learnt, and I'm still learning it, by the way, I'm still learning it, I'm not 100% there, but the difference it has made is magnificent. Like, it's just, it's so different. So, like, there's an inner peace it's priceless. It's just priceless. So just learn a new way to love yourself. How would you really like to be and that's what I keep doing. If I was a child, how would I really have liked to be treated? And then I just keep implementing that with me, and I still screw up and do, but it's even when I go back to, let's say, what'd you say that for? I'm even, it might take a couple of steps back, and then I'm back into, no, it's okay. So it's love and acceptance. So no one, like, I've heard love yourself my whole life.
Mm-hmm.
Everywhere you go, they tell you to love yourself, but I never got that I really, truly didn't know how to love. That was the issue. I was loving myself, but I was only loving myself to the capacity that I'd been taught to love. So it was just learning a new way. And when you get that, so simple. It's simple.
Right.
Save years of therapy if you get that one thing. Just learn how a new way of loving.
Yeah. So in your book, you have a chapter that is dedicated to secrets. It's called "Are Your Secrets Killing You?" So can you talk about what's the relationship between the secrets that we have in our lives that feels like a burden, our secrets that we don't share with anyone, and the issues that we have in our relationship with our lack of love to ourselves? Can you expand a little bit on that?
Yeah, okay. So basically, most people have some sort of secret. There's some sort of secret inside of them. Not everyone, but and what happens if we have a secret? There's a shame attached to that secret. That's why it's a secret. We don't want to share it. We don't want to tell people because there's a shame attached to it. So, and men in particular do carry a lot of shame. It's well known that it's one of the emotions that males carry a little bit more than females. We all carry it, but males a little bit more. So when we're carrying this shame, it's very hard to love ourselves when we've got the shame on board, because you love yourself, and then you'll have but you this, or this, or whatever the shame is. So the shame also has I don't want to say energy, but it does have an energy that's with it. It's like you said, the burden you're carrying, it's like a weight you're carrying. And when we're carrying a weight, it affects our inner being. It affects our autoimmune system. Just like when we're stressed, we know that the body's reacting. Well, it's the same with shame. So if people are carrying this shame, it is affecting their health. And depending how big the shame is or how big the secret is, that's how much it will impact their health or their well-being. Definite.
Yes, and also there is a chapter in your book that is where you talk about the connection about expanding your comfort zone to allow more love, joy, and happiness into your life. So, can you go a little bit into that? Why going out of our comfort zone or expanding our comfort zone will allow more love and joy in our lives?
Okay, so this goes back to Dr. Eric Robbins. I heard Dr. Eric Robbins talk almost 10 years ago now, and he spoke about our nervous system conditioning. So as we're growing up, our nervous system is actually being conditioned. So it's either being conditioned to calm, relaxed, peaceful, or it's being conditioned to stress, anxiety, worry, anticipation, fight, flight, or freeze, basically. And what I realized is every time something wonderful, and we call this self-sabotage, but it was more than that because I was very, very aware it was happening. I was having this wonderful time. My life was going fantastic. And I consciously started focusing on what I didn't have in my life. It was very conscious. It wasn't an unconscious. It was like, oh, but you haven't got the money you want. Or, oh, you're not in the relationship that you want to be in now. And because I'm so aware, I've been analysing myself for over 20 years now, probably 30 years now, I was able to see that because I was so happy, it was very stressful for me. It wasn't familiar. It wasn't comfortable. So my happiness was triggering my comfort zone. I hadn't been conditioned for this happiness and joy, and it was getting what I would say too much. It was getting overwhelmed. So that's when I realized, well, our comfort zone is like a bubble around us. It's not just the negative. It's not just our stress and our anxiety. Sometimes it can be some of the good they're not good or bad emotions, but the emotions we enjoy feeling more, which is the happiness, the joy, the bliss. So I started to use the tapping to expand that comfort zone in the good area as well as the making it a circle around you and just expanding that comfort zone so I could and do have more joy now, more happiness, more bliss, more calm, more peace, and you can just keep that going. And I use the tapping to do that, because otherwise it's the happy that's actually triggering us. It's not self-sabotage. It's the good feelings are triggering our nervous system, not us, our nervous system, because it's unfamiliar. So we have to make it familiar. And we can do that by visualization. And, there's many things that we can do to start to build it. But I highly recommend that we expand that comfort zone.
Right. And also when it comes to relationships, expanding our comfort zone, we can say that communicating with your partner on some topics, some subjects that doesn't feel comfortable, when you make yourself vulnerable and transparent and open up, very often that feels like something that is totally out of our comfort zone, scary. So that's why many people try to avoid these type of conversations. So is it basically the same thing, opening up and talking about topics that are not comfortable but important, feels important? We can call it like expanding your comfort zone, right?
Absolutely, yes, definite. And you can use the tapping, like I have a point on my collarbone where I hit quite often just in the moment, like I don't go through all the points. And when we can imagine that we're going to have that conversation, and just in imagining that we're going to have it, we'll feel the anxiety, we'll feel the stress, we'll feel the unease, and the fear of rejection or abandonment, and we just clear it, and then we can have the conversation, and the more we do it, the more familiar it becomes, so it's not as stressful anymore.
Right. And so working with people to help them create better relationships with their partners, it all starts with creating relationships with ourselves, right?
Correct.
Yes.
There's a really funny phenomena that when we're attracted to someone, so when we first get that initial attraction, and we could write a list of, okay, I was attracted to the smile, I like that they talked to me, they looked at me, whatever it is, you can write a list. Normally, as the relationship is getting into trouble, like there's some issues in the relationship, what first attracted you is now part of the issue. It's very interesting phenomena. It's like, that they're childlike, and then you get to the end and it's like, they're just too childlike. That's what attracted you. They were fun. They were playing.
Exactly.
Now it's like, I want them to grow up. They're too childlike. But what that's saying is, when we're attracted to someone like that, we're attracted to them for a reason. I believe relationships are our best healing tool, without a doubt, because the person that presents will help us to find where we need to grow. 100%. If there's an issue in a relationship, I work with lots of relationships where I only see one person, but the whole relationship changes. So quite often we think, we both have to work at this, we both have to go. People don't have to. If there's one person in the relationship is willing to look at what it is for them that is coming up, both people will change.
Right. And you also have, so we talk about, this summit is relationship and anxiety, so both relationship and anxiety. You have quite a lot of video on your YouTube channel related to anxiety and how to release anxiety. So for people who has been struggling with anxiety for years, and they want to learn not to just release it in the moment when it's being triggered, like EFT or faster EFT, it can help quite very well. Even just following your YouTube videos, just tapping along and just noticing that this anxiety in the moment just goes away. But what did you learn helping people to overcome anxiety in the long term?
Okay. So in the long term, it comes from something a lot deeper. You are right. If you have to watch, let's say, the anxiety video, if you're watching that every week, it's like, that's not what it's designed to do. It's designed to people, they're just experiencing some anxiety and they want to clear it. But if you have to do it all the time, we need to go deeper. And you need to go into your past, even though people are like, I don't want to go there, it's over. You need to go into your past. And because anxiety is a learnt behavior. It's something that we learnt to help us get out of a certain situation or to make us feel safe. It doesn't make us feel safe now, but somewhere in the past it was created because we wanted to anticipate. Here's an example. This just popped into my head, so I'm going to go with it. Here's an example. We've got a young boy, and I don't know where this is coming from, but anyway, we've got a young boy and his dad's quite angry. So he comes home, before his dad comes home, he's starting to get anxious. He's not feeling safe. He's feeling unsure of how dad is going to be when he gets home. So he's learning to anticipate what's going to happen. And somehow he can keep himself safe. So that might mean he can judge as dad comes through the door that he needs to go to his bedroom. It might mean that he just, okay, it's time for dad to come home. I'm going to the bedroom. I'm getting out in the back. So the anxiety was a warning system for him to get safe.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so it was learnt. And what happens is, if you're able to go back to that time where he learnt that behaviour, which was a great behaviour, it did keep him safe, he was able to keep himself in a safe situation, we can then clear up that learnt behaviour.
Mm-hmm.
And we can heal it back there so that he can feel safe with dad coming home. And that will impact how he does anxiety now. He won't have that need to constantly be anticipating what's going to happen so that he can be prepared. Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So we go back and we find what is it that created that in the first place, and we heal it there. And that will change the behavior in the here and now.
Right. And I'm sure you've had clients who, because of their relationship issues, their anxiety that they have developed coping skills that don't serve them, like alcohol or cigarettes or even drugs. And when it became like a part of their identity, like that, they know for sure that this is something that makes them feel at ease or release the anxiety, release the pain. If it, like, the neural connection is strong already, how do they do to change the coping skills that works in the moment but don't serve them in the long term? How do people change that?
So you're right. Quite often when people come, that's what they're coming for. They're coming for their coping mechanism that's no longer working for them. Whether it's drugs, alcohol, porn, excessive exercise, shopaholics. That's my cockatoo. Well, it's a wild cockatoo, it's not mine.
Yeah.
So they're coming for whatever that is. And what we do, though, is we realise that that's just a coping mechanism. It's not the issue. I don't care whether they're gambling, doing drugs, OCD, like whatever it is. We need to go, like I just said, back into the past. What is it that was happening in their life that they needed to create that coping mechanism? And when we heal that, and sometimes this is also very important because it's all about trauma.
Mm-hmm.
And people quite often, when I'm working with people, like they've had a wonderful childhood and they say, I've got no trauma. Because people understand trauma as something that's happened to them. It's something big, They've had a death in the family, or there was an accident, but there's little traumas that can be quite an insignificant event, but it has a massive impact on the person.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes that's where we need to go. We're not looking for some big trauma. It's an event that happened, and the person, as human beings, meaning-making machines. So when something happens, we give it meaning, and it's the meaning that we give it that can create the trauma.
Right.
So we go back and we clear that up. And when we actually clear that up, the coping skill, whatever coping, quite often that can just disappear. We might need to do a little bit of work on it, but more often than not, you don't need to cope anymore because you're coping, you're able to cope.
Right. And also, like lately, you started create more and more videos about money, attracting money, and becoming more successful financially. And it looks like it is all connected to the same feeling of loving yourself and your own like so-called self-worth, or just understanding your own value, self-value, self-worth. So can you expand a little bit on that? How is that connected? If you start loving yourself, actually, it affects all area of your life, even like the financial, the success part.
Okay, okay. So there's two things that I'd like to just make here. So part of it is loving yourself, but we also need to clean up the conditioning we get around money as well. Money money is a relationship like everything else. We have a relationship to money. And many people have a love-hate relationship with money. They love it, they want it, but then money's evil, so they don't want to be seen as evil and greedy and all the rest. So it's always this push-pull because massive conditioning around money. So we do need to clean up the conditioning. But when we see it as a relationship and we know that we're worthy and deserving because we're a human being having a life experience, and the mere fact that you're a human being having a life experience, it means that you're worthy and deserving. There is no question about that. We question it, but it's something we put onto it. It's not real. Like for instance, a burglar or a criminal. They have all the money in the world. Well, the good ones, don't they? They have all the money in the world. Do they think they're worthy or deserving of it? Like, they don't put that relationship to it. They want the money. They go out and do the wrong things to get the money. So it's about knowing that we're human beings. There is no worthy or deserving of money. It's just energy. You know, you don't say, am I worthy to breathe the air? You don't ask that question. Because it's always there, you know, and we just keep breathing it in. That's what money is. It is absolutely always there. And as we build that better relationship by caring for it, so it's exactly the same, because we've got to care for the money. We've got to respect the money, just like we do with ourselves. And that's where it comes back to, if we care for ourselves, if we respect ourselves, if we look after ourselves, we will therefore do it with our partners, by the way. This would happen in a normal relationship as well. The same as money. We will respect the money. We will do the figures. We will do the budget. We'll know what's needed to be done. We'll know what's coming in. We'll know what's going out. That's what a relationship is. So when we love ourselves and we care for ourselves and we do all that for ourselves, we therefore will do it for money as well. We'll understand it deserves to be respected. And the more we respect it, the more we respect ourselves, the more it just keeps showing up.
Yeah, so it sounds like just like with money, and the same as with relationships, with health, with everything, it's all connected to the beliefs that we have in our mind, right?
Yes, yes. And so many of us, well, especially around money, have so many, like, just ridiculous beliefs about money. Ridiculous. And we take them on. I mean, you've possibly heard there was a chapter in the book, but it's like, money does grow on trees.
Yeah. What if money doesn't grow on trees?
You know, yet we I know myself personally, I come from quite humble beginnings, and we really got taught that there was scarcity and there was lack, and in society at the moment, that's perpetuated. You know, you've got to buy this to feel better. You've got to have to feel good about yourself. You've got to be wearing this. You've got to be driving this. You've got to be, you know, it is just crazy. And because we have that lack of self-love, we're buying into all of that. Oh, well, if I drive that car, then I'll feel better. Or if I buy that outfit, I'll feel better. And none of it happens. None of it helps. Because it's not the answer. It is really going in and loving ourselves.
Right.
Just loving ourselves. Every single part of us. Even the stupid comments you say, the way you look, your body, everything. Everything. Because we really are perfect. As human beings.
Yeah.
we're perfect how we're supposed to be.
Yes. So there is scarcity mindset, there is abundance mindset, and it's when it comes to money, it's also the same when it comes to relationship, because some people, they stay with unhappy relationships for years and years and years and years, just because they have this scarcity mindset. Like, who will love me? Like, I'm not that good enough. I won't find anyone better than this one. So
Yes, and it's familiar.
it's
So we stay
familiar.
with that familiar. That's that comfort zone again. You know, we stay with what's familiar.
Even
Even if it's not good, it's
yeah,
familiar.
even if it's painful, familiar is better than unknown, right?
Yes. And that's deep in our primitive brain. Like, that's not even, a lot of that stuff comes from the amygdala, and it's right in our primitive programming. Where the unfamiliar, you know, like, do we go hunt out there? We haven't been there before. What if there's something that could kill us? Like, we don't know because we haven't been there before, and it was a life or death situation. If we didn't know, it was life or death. So it's right in that primitive. They call it the croc brain, because that's where it comes from. That primitive brain that, you know, familiar's safe.
Right. So, and it's all connected to some events in the past. So probably the only way to shift that, to change that, is to, let's say, when working with practitioner, like EFT practitioner like you, is to find that event in the past that is still affecting you and rewrite that event, like, in the memory, right?
100%. So you got to find it, and it's normally fairly easy to find it. You know, that you find it, you clear it up, and like you said, you rewrite it. You must rewrite it. And what rewrite it means is, say the young boy that we were talking about earlier, we need it that when his dad comes in, that dad runs over, grabs him, lifts him up, and, hi, how your day? And it's all calm and it's all friendly. And then you make that real. You make it feel real. So it starts with just changing it, but then you practice it for a few days and you make it feel real. And then your unconscious has a resource. And it doesn't matter that it's made up. We know it's made up. We never believe it's not made up. But it's a resource that the unconscious have that goes, okay, it's safe. It's not always going to be bad when someone shows up, which was the original one. Yeah, very important to rewrite it, because if we don't rewrite it, it's still a reference for the unconscious. We might take all the emotion out, but it's still a reference, so we've got to rewrite it so it's a new reference.
Right. And once rewritten, does it stick the way it is, or does it usually take some time to, like, reminding yourself that new memory, or like maybe visualizing? How long? Like, I understand it depends, but usually, how long does it take to basically rewrite the memory, reconsolidate the memory?
So I say 21 days. Like, if you do a really significant memory, we don't have to do it for every memory, but really, we know that they've had a significant impact on our life. So I say 21 days. But we're all individual, and we feel that we're the same, but the way we process internally, every single individual is unique.
Yeah.
So how I work with one person can be completely different with how I work with another person, because of the way they process their information.
Right.
So 21 days, and then you can also use other memories and stack them on top to add emotion to it. So we've got Dad coming home and Dad's all happy, and you might be able to remember a time. You know, it might have been only once in your life, but Dad did. So you grab that memory and you put the energy and the feelings of that memory in it as well. And that can sometimes speed up the process. But if it's a significant memory, it doesn't matter if it takes you 30 days or 60 days. because it will change your life so dramatically if that's flipped. I mean, I have completely made up memories. Made up, like totally made up. Dad's taken me to the park. I've got a little dress on. He's pushing me on the swing. All made up. But I get a feeling, I've practiced it so much that the feeling's real in me. So my unconscious doesn't know. Doesn't matter. It feels that love and that connection and the softness and fun. There's fun. We're playing in the...
Yes.
Yeah, so we know it's made up, but it doesn't matter.
Right.
We're not trying to trick our mind, or it's like we know it, but the unconscious then has that resource.
Right. And also what the funniest thing for me was when I was doing like the rewriting memories, like the old painful memories that I used to have, like now after the whole process, if I think of it, I start to question like, what was that happen? Like, how did I, like, I'm not sure, like, did it happen really? And it's not that I have bad memory, but because of the whole process, like, I'm not even sure if that memory that I used to believe was real. Now I'm not even sure if that happened exactly the way I thought it happened. So it makes me even question, like, totally question all of my painful memories at all.
Perfect. Because the truth is, the way we remember them is not real anyway.
Yeah.
And we know that. Like when we get into the family gatherings and we're having them gatherings and they're talking about something that happened and everyone's got a different version.
Yeah.
So the more we question our memories from the past, the better, because they're all made up anyway.
Yeah. Like it's with me and my mother. I've been noticing since my childhood, like she would recite me like a certain story, like a story from her past, and each time she tells me this story, it sounds like a different story. And I was always curious, how can it happen? Like she's talking about the same story, but there's always some unique twitch about this story.
Well, it's interesting you say that. The new science out there with memories, like there's really some magnificent science going on now with our neuroplasticity and memories. And the new science is saying that every single time we visit a memory, we tweak it. So we make changes. And we're only remembering the last time we remembered it.
Yeah. So it's being saved.
With your mum, that's exactly what's happening, you know. Each time she's tweaking it a bit, and then she remembers the last time and tweaks it a little bit more.
And it feels real. Like, that's how it was.
That's the important part here. You said earlier that it doesn't feel the same, and that's why we're able to change it so easily. Because once it's the emotion that traps memories in place. It's that emotion that traps them to be real. And so once we take the emotion, which tapping is perfect at doing, but there's other techniques out there. I really don't care what people use. I'm a big fan of, I don't care what process works for you, just as long as you're using it. That's all that matters, as long as you're using it. But once we take the emotion out of it, that's when we can it's much more pliable then, because it hasn't got that intense emotion locking the memory in place.
Yes, memory reconsolidation is a crazy powerful thing.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah.
People can change their and you know, you were saying some people practice 20, you know, I say to practice 21 days. I work with people where their memories flip automatically.
Yeah.
So they just flip as you're tapping.
Yeah.
They'll say it's different now. I'm okay now. I'm on the swing. You know, they'll just I always get a little bit jealous about them ones.
Yeah.
Because my mind doesn't work like that, and I wish I did. But because of course, the sooner you can flip it, the sooner you can clear it. But yeah, so everyone's individual. Some people will flip some straight away. Some people will have to manually flip it. But the main thing is you do it because it is so powerful.
Yeah, definitely. So, Pam, for people who wants to follow you and learn from you, where on the internet, where do they go to connect with you?
Okay, well, I think the best place is pamwright.com.au
Mm-hmm.
because my Instagram's there, my Facebook's there, my YouTube's there. So all the links are there to all the different channels. So yeah, Pam Wright, WRIGHT.com.au. Don't forget AU. I'm a little Aussie over here.
Yeah.
So yeah, you got to put Aussie.
And also I'll connect everyone who's listening to the to Pam's book on Amazon. Why am I so screwed up? It's an amazing book. Yes. So Pam, once again, thank you so much for your time. I truly appreciate that.
It was just an absolute pleasure to be here, and I'm excited that you're getting all this information out to the people that need it. Well done, like brilliant job,
Thank you.
really, really good.
Thank you.